3 forgotten women changed history from a judge's seat, a royal chamber, and the banks of the Nile. Their names, Deborah, Esther, and Miriam, carried power their enemies never anticipated. What if leadership's greatest secrets were hidden in plain sight within their stories? These aren't just ancient tales. They're masterclasses in courage and strategic wisdom that transcend their time. As we uncover their journeys, you'll discover leadership principles that still transform lives today, connecting past courage to present challenges. Picture this. Morning sunlight glints off hundreds of Canaanite iron chariots assembled in the valley below Mount Tabor. Above them stands Deborah beside her General Barak, scanning gathering storm clouds with decisive anticipation. After 20 years of oppression, Israel's fate hangs on her next command. Go, for this is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. Deborah wasn't born into power. She earned authority by delivering justice beneath a palm tree, where Israelites sought her wisdom when male leadership had failed them. Her name, meaning bee, perfectly captured her essence: industrious, community-focused, and equipped with a powerful sting when threatened. Like a chess grandmaster planning 5 moves ahead, Deborah transformed Israel's disadvantage into victory. She observed how the seasonal rains would turn the battlefield into a muddy trap for Sisera's iron chariots, advanced technology that became useless weight sinking into soggy ground. This wasn't just military strategy. It was calculated timing that modern business leaders would recognize as disrupting a competitor's advantage. What makes her remarkable isn't just that she judged Israel when women across Egypt and Mesopotamia were excluded from legal authority. It's how she led, not through dominance, but by creating conditions where others could succeed. When Barak hesitated to lead the army without her, she accompanied him, but prophesied that final victory would come through another woman's hand, Jael, who would ultimately defeat Sisera. Archaeological evidence confirms the technological details of her story. Iron chariots represented cutting-edge military innovation during the late Bronze Age. Deborah recognized this advantage could be neutralized by environmental factors, a lesson in leveraging natural conditions against seemingly superior opposition. Her victory song, preserved in Judges 5, represents one of the oldest Hebrew poetic texts. Through this composition, she ensured her leadership legacy extended beyond the battlefield into cultural memory, shaping Israel's national identity for generations. While Deborah led from a public position of recognized authority, our journey now takes us behind the ornate palace walls of ancient Persia, where a different kind of female leadership emerged, one operating through subtle influence rather than direct command, proving that sometimes the greatest power lies in knowing when not to reveal your strength. The Persian royal court buzzes with whispers as the young queen approaches the king's inner chamber. Every step could mean life or death. Persian law decrees execution for anyone, even the queen, who approaches the throne unsummoned. 3 days of fasting have transformed Esther from a beauty contest winner into Israel's last hope against genocide. Esther carried 2 identities. Her Hebrew name, Hadassah, meaning myrtle, reflected her hidden Jewish heritage, while her Persian name, Esther, meaning star, represented her public royal persona. This duality wasn't a weakness, but her greatest strategic asset. When her cousin Mordecai revealed the plot to exterminate the Jews, Esther faced an impossible choice: remain silent and survive while her people perished, or risk everything on a dangerous gambit. Her response reveals the essence of moral leadership. If I perish, I perish. Her approach resembles a master diplomat who never reveals their full hand. Instead of making immediate demands after gaining the king's attention, she hosted a series of banquets. At these carefully orchestrated gatherings, she created a psychological stage where King Xerxes could witness the villain Haman's true character unfold naturally. Like a detective who arranges for the suspect to reveal themselves, rather than making direct accusations. This calculated patience allowed Haman's arrogance to manifest visibly. By the time Esther revealed her Jewish identity and Haman's plot against her people, the king had already begun to question his advisor's character independently. Her method demonstrates how influence operates most effectively when those in power perceive their decisions as self-generated. The Book of Esther stands unique in biblical literature. God is never directly mentioned. This absence highlights how divine purpose often works through human decisions rather than supernatural intervention. Esther's quiet courage reminds us that leadership sometimes means working within flawed systems to create change from within. Her lasting impact extended beyond the immediate crisis. The Festival of Purim, established to commemorate this deliverance, ensured that future generations would remember both the threat and the courage that overcame it. Through this institutional memory, Esther's personal victory became a permanent part of Jewish identity, demonstrating how effective leadership creates legacies that outlive the leader. Esther's diplomatic triumph saved her people from annihilation, but to understand how the Jewish people first formed their identity through generations of hardship, we must look back to an earlier heroine who helped birth the nation itself. A woman whose artistic leadership created cultural foundations that would sustain Israel through centuries of challenges. A young girl stands vigilant beside the Nile, watching a basket carrying her infant brother drift among the reeds. This first act of protective leadership by Miriam would set in motion events that would transform a family's destiny into a nation's liberation. Miriam's journey spans from slavery to freedom. As Moses grew from rescued infant to Israel's deliverer, she remained a steadfast presence. Her name carries multiple meanings: bitter sea and rebellion, both reflecting essential elements of her story: the bitterness of Egyptian oppression and the rebellious spirit that sustained resistance. Picture the scene. The Red Sea has just parted and closed again, drowning Pharaoh's pursuing army. As the Israelites stand in shocked silence on the opposite shore, processing their narrow escape, a rhythmic beat cuts through the stillness. Miriam has taken up her timbrel, leading the women in dance and song. Sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has hurled into the sea. This wasn't spontaneous celebration. The text specifically notes she took a timbrel in her hand. She had prepared for this moment of victory, carrying an instrument through the hasty exodus. Like a film director who understands how shared artistic experience creates binding memories, Miriam recognized that freedom required not just physical escape, but cultural formation. Archaeological evidence makes her musical leadership even more remarkable. Ancient Near Eastern victory songs were typically performed by men, making her role unprecedented. Through this artistic expression, she established patterns of worship and cultural identity that would sustain Israel throughout their wilderness journey. Miriam's leadership operated through artistic innovation rather than formal authority. As prophetess, she created channels for spiritual expression that complemented the institutional framework established by her brothers. When she later challenged Moses' authority, as recorded in Numbers 12, the severe consequences reveal how seriously her influence was taken. Her voice carried enough weight to threaten established order. Jewish tradition expanded her legacy through the Miriam's Well story, a miraculous water source that followed the Israelites due to her merit. This expansion reveals how later generations understood her as a nurturing, sustaining presence throughout Israel's formative period. The palm tree where Deborah rendered judgment, the royal chambers where Esther strategized, and the shores where Miriam led in song have long since disappeared. But their leadership principles remain as relevant as tomorrow's headlines. Deborah shows us how vision transforms limitations into strategic advantages. Esther demonstrates how understanding systems allows change from within. Miriam reveals how artistic expression creates resilient cultural identity during crisis. These women operated without formal titles or institutional power, yet their impact shaped nations. Their stories remind us that leadership isn't about position but purpose, not authority but moral courage. Where will such leadership manifest next? In boardrooms, classrooms, or communities? The legacy of these biblical heroines challenges us to recognize that true transformation has always emerged from unexpected sources and still does today.